Nemesis Inferno. Often considered the lesser of the two Nemesises in the UK, this ride has received a lot of hate simply because of the Nemesis branding. Did Thorpe Park copy Alton Towers? Seems to be the major point here. But is this hate really necessary? No. Now, there are obviously many flaws with this ride, but then again, no one's perfect. Sure, the volcano theming could have been a bit improved around the back, and maybe the tunnel at the beginning could be a little more themed, but I mean, come on, no one cares about that. The pre-lift section is actually pretty good. Instead of just S-bending out the station into the lift hill, you curve down out of the station and into a tunnel filled with mist and red lighting. Thorpe Park have really been improving recently. Before, it was lucky if the mist effect worked, but nowadays the tunnel is completely filled with it and you can't see anything in front of you. There's so much mist it sometimes leaks into the gift shop and sets the fire alarm off. You burst out into a small dip and then finally into the lift hill. I really like this bit of Nemesis for some reason. It's just a fun little thing that Thorpe Park didn't have to include, but they did anyway. Nice. I'd also like to point out the restraints on Inferno. These things are seriously some of the best OTSs out there. They don't completely crush your thighs and hips like another certain ride at Thorpe, and there's plenty of room between your shoulders and the top. What I'm basically saying is Nemesis Inferno is very comfy. On the way up the lift you get some pretty good views of the rest of the park. You can see almost all of Angry Birds Land. Please remove that. And the first drop, it's fast, smooth, and overall better than the first drop on Nemesis. You curve straight down instead of just gently gliding around 180 degrees. On the back row, this drop is so fun. This entire ride is amazing on the back row, but we'll get to that later. Also on the first drop, you can really hear that OG B&M roar, especially when you're on it. So that's another thing Inferno is underrated for. Inferno's layout, in my opinion, is fantastically paced and it doesn't really lose a lot of its momentum throughout it, except for maybe that random final turnaround. You get a great sense of speed on the first drop, vertical loop and 0G roll, and that's just amplified on night rides. Speaking of night rides, Nemesis Inferno at night. Oh my god. I don't know if it's the dense plants or what, but there's something about this ride at night that just makes it perfect. Now, it's relatively dark in the Nemesis Inferno jungle area at night, but I suppose that makes it better. There's red and green lights scattered about the layout, which again just adds to the experience. Other than that, it's a significantly darker night ride than anything else at Thorpe Park. Let's talk about the back row. Nemesis Inferno on the back row is better than any other back row at Thorpe Park. The only thing close to it is probably Stealth on the back. The curve down into the tunnel at the start feels a lot faster on the back. As soon as you exit the station building, you are already flying down the section of the ride. The tunnel feels much quicker as well. Or maybe it's just helped by the fact that the tunnel amplifies the sound. The mist prevents you from seeing absolutely anything in front of you. On the first drop, you are again sent hurtling at a much faster pace than the front. The vertical loop is more intense, the 0G roll is whippier, everything's better on the back row. If you ask me, I think Inferno is better themed than Nemesis. Obviously, Nemesis has way more depth and story behind it, but I'm talking about actual theming on the ride. Inferno has an entire volcano built for it. The queue and station are both built into this thing. There's small rocks around the area, again linking to the volcano. There's a whole bunch of plants everywhere, which I guess fits with the jungle theme. And a crocodile. Nemesis Inferno really is just a solid coaster. The restraints, while being old OTSs, are still really comfy and non-restrictive. The entire layout is still super smooth after nearly 20 years. Seriously, there's no headbanging on this ride at all. The theming is solid and night rides on this are just fantastic. So, does Nemesis Inferno deserve the hate it gets? No. Is there still room for improvement? Yes. Still a good ride though. Subscribe.